Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Some more guided notes. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I don't know when I'm going to be giving this video to you guys. I don't know if you're watching it on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. But as usual, with all of our new units, we do some geography and we need to get some vocab done as well. So it's a lazy Sunday for me. That's why I'm wearing my Patriots hat and I'm wearing shorts right now, even though it's probably like 2 degrees out. But with some of our Southeast Asia geography, we're going to see these words, whether we are talking about the geography, whether we're talking about current events, whether we're talking about history. So a lot of these words are going to be popping up time and time again. And while you're doing these, please get these down in your guided notes. I believe it's only 1 page this time. So let's get started. So this word is archipelago. We had actually seen this word before, but archipelago, a noun, is very much seen in Southeast Asia, a lot more than when we saw it in Japan. It is a small group of islands, usually belonging to one country. So really, an archipelago is a natural landform with a little bit of kind of a political map or politics involved. A lot of islands, but they're under one control. Think Indonesia. Our second word, cultivating. So this is going to pop up a lot when we are actually looking at the geography and kind of early history. So cultivating is a verb. Really, it just means to prepare and use land for farming. So we've had a lot of farming words. We have agriculture. We have, fertile soil, all having to do with farming. Cultivating is just another one that has to do with farming. Our third word, imposed. Imposed. It's a verb, and we're going to see a lot of this when we start getting into like the later bit of history. But imposed means to force something that is unfamiliar to be accepted or to put into place. So we are going to see some parts of more recent history, not so much ancient, but other countries imposing their will on Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia and its history has a lot of kind of other countries take advantage of it. And so we're going to see other countries impose their influence on Southeast Asia. Bas relief. Bas relief. Now, this is a word we don't see too often, but it has to do with a little bit of art. So it's a slightly raised mural of stone sculptures. And those stone sculptures are on a flat background wall. So as you can see right here, that these are very much, stone sculptures of Buddha and animals and godlike creatures. But they have been carved into a wall. So it's not like they took sculptures and stuck them onto the wall. They were carved into the wall. A little bit more, a little bit more in-depth, a little bit more detailed to do that, harder to get those sculptures in there. And specifically, we are going to be looking at these bas relief found in the walls of Angkor Wat. And they depict scenes of some Hindu legends. So we are bringing back Hinduism with Southeast Asia. Paddy. A paddy, simply put, it's a field where rice is grown. A lot of times rice needs to be grown, yes, with some, fertile soil and proper, land, but rice can be grown almost like underwater. So as you can see here, it's kind of like they dug into the land and then kind of flooded this. That is where the rice is growing. So rice needs a lot of moisture, a lot of water to be able to grow properly. And so in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of rice paddies. Mangrove, a little bit more of a natural vocab word here. It's a tree that grows in the swamp water areas, and they have a lot of tangled roots that then show when the tide lowers. And so they are exposed when the water of a river or, say, the ocean kind of kind of sinks just a little bit. And this is a very kind of look very synonymous with Southeast Asia, where these specific type of mangrove trees are home to a lot of wildlife. The trees themselves, they're really high quality wood, so they're used a lot when it comes to either making tools or making shelter. So these mangrove imagery here, these natural trees growing by the river, is very Southeast Asian. There's a little bit more of some bigger concept words coming up. Developed country. So make sure we are paying attention that we are looking at this developed as it has already been developed. It's a country with a lot of industrial activity, and people have some higher income here. So when we are looking at a developed country, we can think of America as a developed country. We can look at Japan, England, Germany as developed countries. So please don't get it confused and know the difference between a developed country and a developing country. So with developing, they are on their way to getting to developed. It is a country with little industrial activity and people have a lower income. So we can think of countries, say, like a lot of them in Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Some of these are developing countries. We can think of places in more like Central America. I would say like Nicaragua is a very developing country. So they are making their way towards a developed country. This also comes into play when we talk about third world and first world countries. More history here. So Nam Viet. Now this should look somewhat familiar because in 207 BC, a Chinese governor broke away to start his own kingdom known as Nam Viet, and it is now known today as Vietnam. They just kind of flipped, the original word around. But this kind of early beginning of Vietnam was a Chinese governor broke away from the Han Dynasty, broke away from China to begin Vietnam. About 1,100 years later, Dai Viet came along, and in 938 AD, 1,100 years later, the now Vietnamese people defeated the Chinese army and created their own independent country. We're going to see that in between the time of Nam Viet and Dai Viet, China found its way into Southeast Asia and reconquered that area and took it away from, those original Vietnamese people. Khmer. Khmer is a word that, some of you guys may know because you may be or have family members that, speak Khmer or are from this part of the world. It is an ancient kingdom that ruled the Mekong River, with the capital of the Khmer Empire being Angkor. And now, today, it has turned itself into the current day country of Cambodia. So a lot of those people that live around Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and a little bit of Vietnam, they are have that Khmer culture, the Khmer language is there, and it's still very strong there in that area, centralized around Cambodia. Now, with this early Cambodian Khmer history, there was the first formal Khmer empire known as Jayavarman II. So yes, he is the second, but he was the first formal Khmer emperor that united the two kingdoms. We're going to learn about these of Chenla and Funan, and was able to defeat kind of the armies of their rival, the island of Java, that was kind of making its way from Indonesia into Cambodia in this Khmer Empire. So we're going to learn a lot about Jayavarman II and Jayavarman VII. As we spoke about, the Khmer Empire kind of found its capital city in Angkor, and one of the world's actually largest religious monuments in the world. It is actually the largest religious monument, is a place called Angkor Wat. It is a Buddhist temple found in Cambodia. And like I said, this is, the top dog when it comes to how, a big religious monument. A little bit more natural here. Monsoons. These are seasonal winds that can be wet or dry, but they are classified as monsoons when they are devastatingly damaging to Southeast Asia. A cyclone. So this is a system of rotating winds that brings heavy rain and can cause damage to, this area again. These are we may know them as tornadoes and hurricanes and not cyclones and monsoons, but in Southeast Asia, high, heavy, rainy winds are known as a monsoon, and this spiraling wind with rain that it causes a lot of damage is known as a cyclone in this part of the world. All right, our second to last word here is monopoly. Monopoly. Now, this is not the board game, but it takes on the same idea. So a monopoly is when a company, or in our case, a country, takes complete control of an economic market. So you can have a monopoly when you are the one person making money off of that thing. So a little bit, we'll talk more about examples, but one example is if you ever see like a garbage truck inland in any part of the country, a lot of times it says WM on it, as in waste management. That is a privately owned company. I ask you now, do you know of any other companies that takes care of a privately owned company that takes care of the trash? You probably won't, because this company of waste management has, taken control of the whole market of, getting the garbage and being paid for it. No one else is even close to kind of rivaling them in the waste management, industry. Something that you guys may think of, there's a lot of fast food. Yes, McDonald's is kind of like top dog, but there are multiple other companies and restaurants that also kind of compete in the fast food market. So really, McDonald's does not have a monopoly on the fast food market. Finally, big word here, colonialism. We will spend a lot of time talking about this colonialism, which is the idea that one country rules and develops trade in another country for that first country's own benefit. You guys may have known about colonialism from some of maybe the countries that your parents, your grandparents are from, but a lot of times, as we can see from this map, these colors are representing very European countries that have then colonized or brought colonialism in there. One being America. The English and the Spanish, Spain, colonized America. And they set up all of this that we kind of know in our early country's history for their own benefit, for England's benefit, for Spain's benefit. We will talk about that in Southeast Asia as well. All right, folks, that stuff down. And there is a mastery ticket, so make sure you grab that off of the wall. And good luck.